Good morning. Welcome to Thursday. Seattle's Morning News. Dave Ross, Colleen O'Brien, Chris Sullivan. Morning News. This is Seattle's Morning News. Dave Ross with Colleen O'Brien and Chris Sullivan. And we have with us one of USA Today's Women of the Year, Kimmy Siebens, who's a Seattle nurse working with unhoused people and at Harborview Medical Center. Tell us about did you know you were entered for this, first of all, or did this come by surprise to you?
I definitely did not enter. I didn't know anything about it. And I actually thought it was a prank because I was homesick, ironically, with COVID. The first time I had caught it, after years of working in the COVID ICU, I finally got it at home. And I was very sick. And I thought someone at work was trying to play like a practical joke on me when they called because they had mentioned that Melinda Gates had, won this.
Thought you were having a fever dream, huh?
Yeah. And I thought, okay, you guys, this is enough. I'll talk to you later. But then the person who called me looked more into it. And then when I met up with them, they explained it. And I was totally shocked. When we did the photo shoot, I actually thought that I was just like one of 1,000 nominations, which I was still incredibly honored to be. But at the very end, after the photos were taken, I said, so do you know like what this is or how many, like what's the next step? And do I need to do anything? And he said, no, Kimmy, you already won it.
Oh.
And it was a huge shock. It still is, actually.
Well, it's not a shock. If you read through, there's an article about you in the Kitsap Sun. You read up on all of the amazing work that you do, not just as a nurse, but also as an advocate for the unhoused. And as you know, in our region, homelessness is the crisis that nobody seems to be able to solve, no matter how much money the state and cities throw at it. So how did you, as a trauma nurse, get involved with working with the unhoused?
Oh, my whole career, I've been working with people that are unhoused. And so I'm sort of in a special position where I can get to know these people one-to-one, like how we're talking right now. And you actually see the true faces of it and the true causes of it. And it's not one simple answer. Every single person has a need. And as a nurse, we're trained how to help solve people's issues. We're all specialized in our own ways, but for me, it seemed pretty obvious, even though it doesn't seem obvious to a lot of other people, but it seems obvious that homelessness is primarily like a housing issue. And researching more about that, it strengthened my feelings on it because I like to, do research on things and know what I'm talking about and see if I'm heading in the right direction. I guess the main way I got into it was just becoming so passionate about these people's problems and realizing they don't have a voice and that there are ways to help them and that I know how to help them. But we need more people to get on board with that to really make a difference.
Well, working at Harborview, you are meeting people after they've already fallen through the safety net. So have you figured out a way to prevent them from getting that far?
Oh, yes. There's incredible, I like to say prophylactic, which is a big word that means preventative care. There's a lot of ways we can prevent these things from happening in our communities. And it starts from acknowledging that times change and things aren't like they used to be. When you're looking into housing, I go hand in hand with people going to assistance centers looking for housing, and it's astounding how expensive the rent is. It's more than my mortgage is. Luckily, I have a home that it's a stable rent every month because I have a mortgage. But housing is absolutely ridiculous. Also, a lot of people that I work with, they're initially homeless before they go into substance abuse, which is a common misconception. People think that all people fall into substance abuse and then become homeless. But there's far more people in the world who have homes that are using substances right now, that are housed. So that's not the main reason why people become homeless. But when people are out there, it is hard to get back into housing if you're under the influence of something controlling your life and making it so you can't, work or take care of yourself. And so another safety net that could have could be provided, at least in my own community. It's very hard to get into treatment. It's not an easy path. You have to sometimes get like a prescription from the ER to go to a crisis center to get evaluated if you even need it. And if anyone's been through this with their family members, they know that it's a very delicate time when you need to get right into treatment, and treatment that's more than 20 days. And then the biggest thing that I know could be helped is I'm very passionate about helping elders who are homeless. And those people are simply homeless because they're old and they are on fixed incomes and they no longer can pay the rent. And these are the ones that I focus on first because I have to triage, who's probably going to die first out here. And so those people, I've proven for the last 6 years that they're incredibly able to be helped. And what it comes down to for me is I've had to even go to court to get judges to say, yes, this person is elderly and needs to be placed in a home. But otherwise, I say it's like the Hunger Games. And so all of these people are just sort of languishing on our streets and not getting the care that they could definitely get better with.
Well, for those who happen upon you, they are the lucky ones, it sounds like. How are you doing this in addition to nursing? Do you work with an official group or organization, or is this all your own idea?
So, I work full time in the trauma ICU, which is, I find not as stressful, ironically, than working with people outside. When I go to work, it's like I take a breath of air and I'm like, okay, I'm here. I know exactly what I have to do for the next 12 hours. And I have a team of people that if I need anything, they're right there. So I feel very supported at work. In regard to what I do, I just started a community group, which has become invaluable in helping spread the word and get more people involved. And then also doing fundraisers. I actually started a lot with picnics, community picnics. And I've been looking at some videos of that from prior to COVID. And I'm pretty amazed at what I was able to do with the community. And, at one point, hundreds of people who lived outside were coming to these picnics and you couldn't tell, who was homeless or who was just there to help. So I think bringing the community together to solve our own problems, not just me and not just one entity, but a lot of us have to get on board with this and understand what we're dealing with and get over all of the misconceptions that are holding us back.
Kimmy Siebens, named Washington's Woman of the Year by USA Today. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
There's a lot more to the interview that we couldn't fit on the air this morning. I think at one point you asked her, she was taking care of herself because
right. How do you full-time work as a trauma nurse in the state's only trauma hospital and take care of those in need, which for most of us who have the time of day find it exhausting. So she is incredible.
Yeah. I think you'll find it inspiring. So we put it up on the Ross Files podcast. You can hear the entire thing. That'll go up right after we get off the air this morning.